everyone. It's raining, it's cold, so it felt like a good time to do some streaming and do some more work on my comic. Just messing with some wires. There we go. Yeah, it's gone from Molten to Chile here in the UK, so definitely comic book drawing time. And I am working on page 13 of my comic. So just a little recap. This is the page before. A poor chap called Will is attacked by a ferocious, horrible looking skelly beast. And this is kind of his friends, his bandmates coming to intervene, particularly Tobias. Having met the band, I figured Tobias would be the one that would land the first punch. But all is not as it seems, because as he goes to punch it, it just kind of dissipates. So I'm sort of experimenting with a lot of the Clip Studio brushes and whatnot to sort of see what kind of effects I can get out of this. So I've done the line work or most of the line work for this page. I need to add a lot of detail, but I'm kind of trying to go through every comic page and get the basics down. And then when I've done all the pages, I might go back and start adding other little details to the pages just to make it nice. And then I will be doing my lettering, and it might even be that I don't do the final details until I've done the lettering, because there's no point me doing lots and lots of detail when there's a big old speech bubble in the way. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I might, just for a bit of a change of pace, jump to the next page as well. I've got a little bit of line work in this panel that I need to sort out, which is kind of a what would you call it, sort of a positioning panel, kind of giving the viewer a chance to kind of see the layout of the room a little bit, yeah, just refine some of this stuff. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the main page, and yeah, this one kind of needs a bit of some stuff's gone a little awry there, but yeah, this panel, I would say backgrounds are my weakness to some degree. I love drawing people, but I have to kind of really buckle down and just get on with it to draw backgrounds. So yeah, so that'll be a bit of a challenge if I need a bit of a change of pace from drawing this page. But I would quite like to kind of, if I open up my comic book sort of thing, you can see from here, and this is the page I'm working on, all of the artwork, or the key artwork up to this point is pretty much done, and I've just got sort of this to go. And actually, because I got my graphics tablet actually at about this point here, this page here is where the graphics tablet kind of came in. Everything pre that, a lot of it's been redrawn on the graphics tablet, but because I had my beautiful graphics tablet at this point, things like adding colour, adding additional pages, popping into new panels, that kind of stuff is a lot easier than everything before that was traditionally drawn originally. Can't kick off that. So yeah, so I'm sort of, the back end of the comic and the front end of the comic are kind of starting to meet in the middle, which is really exciting. Anyway, let's click on. Let's find the right panel. I'm pretty sure that's the panel I was working on. Yeah. Pick the skin tone I will use. Let's make the brush a bit tiddlier. I still remember when I was a teenager and these sorts of graphic tablets just didn't exist, and it would be a case of scanning in your line work using a scanner, and I was really lucky that my family had a scanner. And then it was kind of a very early version of Photoshop that you could use to sort of try and drop the colour in, and it was so faffy. And now I've got this, and it's just so easy. It makes me so happy. Why is my phone blipping? What does the phone say? The phone says, ooh. It says don't do that. I don't know what else my phone is saying, but it is also saying, charge me, I need electricity. Alrighty, little phone. Here you go. Okay. One thing I do need to go back through is Tobias in IRL. So this character here is based on a real life person. Has a fantastic tattoo on his arm that I have not plopped in yet. I've got a good photograph. He very kindly let me take a photograph of his tattoo so that I could include it in the comic. And yeah, I will be doing that at some point. Ooh, hello. Let's get rid of that. Ooh. To go through at some point in time, I do want that up anyway, but. It's funny, when I drew this traditionally, this page, I obviously couldn't zoom in like I can here, and now I've zoomed in, I'm like, ooh, not quite sure what I was trying to achieve with that. Never mind. That's what the magic of technology is for, right? He does run with bare feet, so a little bit of colour down here. And if you ever go to an esoteric gig, you will see that Tobias really is barefoot when he's on stage. And I'm sure, like any rational human being, he pops his shoes back on post-gig, but as it is kind of his little signature for performing, I'm going to keep him barefoot in the comic. Throughout the comic. In fact, my hubby is very into the whole like barefoot movement. Let your feet be free. Okay, and then I can steal some of the flat colours. So, for anyone going, ooh, this looks very flat. This doesn't look quite right. It's quite normal in comics to sort of do a sort of a flat colour layer, and it's just to sort of get the sort of the colour scheme in. You sort of add lighting at a later point. In fact, I need to go back to the previous page and do a lot of the mood lighting. I've sort of done the base shadows on the previous page, but not the actual lighting. And it's just, it kind of saves time. For me, I like it because I can sort of, before I kind of go into the shadows and all that kind of stuff, I can just check that, you know, the colours look right, that they're consistent, that I'm sort of like, you know, just like in real life, your grey top doesn't magically change colour just because you go outside. It'll change depending on the lighting and blah, blah, blah. Like the hues, the shades, the hues, I forget which is which, might change a bit, but that base colour's always there. So that's kind of what I'm trying to make sure is consistent with these sort of flat colours as I go into each panel. And slurp my caffeinated beverage because I am nothing without coffee. Well, I am something, but it's not very pleasant. Feeling lazy. Let's make my brush a bit bigger so I can just sort of slap that colour on. Slappity, slappity. I'm not too worried about going over the edges either, because that is what the eraser tool is for. Like, if you're going to go digital, embrace the shortcuts that I'm going to sneeze. Thank you! Ay, yay. Oh, and again. Thank you! Oh, see, I thought as it's a rainy day, my hay fever would be a little bit less. Oh, intense. Silly, silly human. Nature wins again. Right, I think that's all the grey. Right, steal some more colours from up here. Right, the other thing I will say for anyone that's just tuning in is that I am super zoomed in, so yes, the line work might not look sort of super spiffy, but actually when you zoom out to the full page, and bear in mind that I think, have I got a standard comic size around here? Call it. Hello, just go through my TCG. Which one should I go for? Oh yeah, I remember buying this. So this is a standard comic book size, and I am drawing for print eventually. Pretty sure this is standard comic book size. So some of the things that you are seeing in here, like this page, looks super close up here, right? But when I zoom out, bear with me. And you bear in mind that what you're looking at is probably not much bigger than that. So actually you wouldn't see some of my messy line work anyway, or at least that's not what your eye, theoretically, if I've done my job properly, that's not how your eye is going to be drawn. Oh, I forgot I had this. I did enjoy this comic style. It looks very much traditionally drawn. Anywho, stop. I get sucked into actually reading comics. That's not what this stream is about. Oh. Okay, zoom back in. Ooh, it does help if I actually pick the right layer. That's the right layer, that's good. Take my brush size back down again, because I do want to be sort of accurate. I do like doing the flat colours. It feels a little bit like when you're a kid and you're doing a colouring book, although if you go outside the lines, it's very stressful. That's alright, that is what the eraser tool or the overwrite tool is for. So, good. Everything can be tidied up. Happy mistakes, that's what Bob Ross used to call them, isn't it? I do make a lot of happy mistakes that I then have to correct. Got some nice sort of chilled out chirpy music to... Ooh, missed a bit. Now, I was trying to get in the habit of just going around the outside and then using the paint bucket tool to fill it all in, but I have noticed, and it'll be a paint bucket setting, and I'm too lazy / too impatient and too paranoid to use it again, but where I have used the paint bucket, it can leave like a line of unfilled in pixels around where you sort of bucketed it, whatever the correct grammar thing for bucketing, bucketing into the area. Yeah, that when you do the bucketing, and it's sometimes quite hard to visibly see where it's done it. So you have to kind of catch it, which meant I was then having to kind of go around the outline again anyway, just to kind of make sure that this thing wasn't in. And to be honest, I'd rather just make my brush bigger and colour it in like a toddler. That is good coffee, right? If I do say so myself. Ooh, more lines that should not be there. Let's sort that out whilst I'm here. Luckily I did that particular line work on a different layer. Right. Little tushy. I still have to stop myself from giggling when I'm drawing people's crotches and bums. I know that's very infantile, but I am very infantile. Part of my charm. Blot the main colour on. Ooh, went over the lines, but again, that's okay. That's what the eraser tool is for. And I did make that a lot bigger than I wanted it to be. sometimes going a little bit over the lines is like, ooh, arty, and other times it's like, ooh, no, just wonky. Let's get the hair coloured in. Ooh, this music is like we're going on an epic quest. Quest of colouring in the lines. Who is brave shall venture upon this quest with me. And what's that? It's just too challenging. Well, I shall have your bow. Shall have your paintbrush. On this particular page, but hey ho. That arm. Okay. Let's fix that up a little bit. I shouldn't really be adding more detail at this stage, but sometimes I just can't help myself. Okay, so we've got another contender for the drew lines where there shouldn't be lines. Bit. Ooh, we don't have any will colour scheme on this page. Alright, that's alright. That's why we pulled up these other pages. Oh dear, where's my tissue? Where's my tissue? Oh, that's better. Oh. Oh no, where did I put my pen? Where did I put my pen? Where did I put my pen? Forget my head if it wasn't screwed on. True story. I like to think of pages when they're at this stage as, I don't know if you've ever seen when Pixar puts the sort of like how we made this, and you start off with like the wireframe models, which I like to think is kind of the equivalent of this, where it's all just sort of positioning, like these are going to be tables, like candles and stuff on them, and like, yes, I'm going to draw that detail, and like a little dance area or a mosh pit, I don't know, whatever over here. Actually, that's the door to backstage. I have to remember to look at the floor plan of this. There's a bit of the bar here, that kind of stuff. So this is the sort of the, it's almost the guys in the motion capture suit stage, I guess you could call it. Or when they sort of just put the little stick man on the thing, and then they start putting they start fleshing it out, don't they, with like just circles and tubes and that kind of stuff. And then once they've got the sort of the wire frame down, then they start kind of mapping on the, they've sort of got the fleshy shapes on, they start sort of just blobbing on the sort of the colours. And then once they've done the colours, it goes into shading, and once in the shading, it then goes into lighting. It's very similar with drawing, well, for me anyway, it's very similar to drawing comic book frames. You kind of start out with your stick men, then you kind of upgrade it to tubey men, or women, or non-binary, tubey people, there we go, tubey people. And then once you've got your tubey people, you then start putting the clothes, like draping them with clothes, or not with clothes, depending on what scene you're drawing. And then once you've got your drapey people sorted, it's then time to sorry, trying to draw and think and talk at the same time can be a bit challenging for me. Oh no. Wrong layer. Wow. Oh, sorry, will your t-shirts coming back to here, right? Always check you're on the right layer. What a plonker. Oh, well, let's do skin tone first then. I forgot where I was going. I remember talking about Pixar and stuff. I'm sure it was very interesting, whatever it was I was saying. I've learned from this before that I think I've done a really good job coloring, and then I zoom in and I'm like, oh no, missed. I used to, anyone that watched my sort of early streams or earlier streams will know that I used to do like hundreds of layers when I was colouring. I'm getting much better now at just doing the one layer for colour. Maybe two if I've got a lot of background stuff going on, to make life easier on myself. I do a separate background bit, background layer. So it's kind of goes sort of, I've got a separate layer that does the background of the, yeah, just switch it on also too. Ooh, and I missed a bit. Very sneaky. And again, it's just so that I can sort of tidy up the foreground bits and bobs by. Oh, go home, pen, you're drunk. By using the eraser tool. I do love a bit of lazy in my life. If I can do something that looks good and is quick, that's like the holy grail of doing art stuff, because I would love to spend like infinity on each page, like forever be working at it, but then my comic will never ever get published, which should be a bit sad because I've worked quite hard on it. I would like it to be published one day in the future, preferably whilst I'm still alive. So I'm kind of having to accept that perfect is not necessarily a good goal for my line work and my colouring and that stuff. It just has to be, good, don't get me wrong, it has to be sort of acceptable to me, it has to kind of gel with the rest of the comic, it has to try and be as consistent as possible so people aren't like pulled out of the story because the artwork, unless you're using that as a story tool, which some people do. Like, I don't know if you've ever watched anime, and normally it's like during like an epic battle, the art style will suddenly massively change to like one with lots of hatching and lots of detail, and that's done as part of the sort of narrative of you know, pay attention to this, something major is going on, or you know, you're trying to depict special sort of like movement or something like that. So I'm not saying that you can never sort of jump out of your art style, but if it's consistent, it means that people don't sort of get ripped out of the sort of section of story you're trying to tell, and that's sort of what I'm aiming for. Although I do have quite a scribbly line art style anyway, but I'm also making peace with that. I was like, oh no, every line has to be like beautifully sculpted and like razor sharp, but actually I think you lose a bit of the energy of the line work if you make it too sort of, don't know what you call that, scripted? No, too neat and tidy. Ooh, Spotify Premium, what are you doing? Don't do that. I know I shouldn't, but I am adding some line work on the colour layer, which is, I know. Oh no. I am on the liner. Oh no, no, we're okay. We're okay. Correct layer selected. No need to panic. Okay, let's grab that t-shirt colour again. Check I'm on the right layer this time. Yep, no good. I think whilst I've got the big thick one, just blob in as much colour as I can. It's funny, without seeing the sort of attack from the previous page, it does look a little bit like Tobias attacking Will rather than defending him. It's okay. make more sense when I add in the, because that's it, the special effects. So once I've done the lighting, maybe before I do the lighting, I will add in the sort of smoke and, so from the original line work, which is, it's in here for this page. Oops, just smash everything on the floor. Smash. So you know you're in my studio. Rubbish everywhere. Let's see if I can find the original. So this sketchbook contains all of my original traditional line work for this comic, which I will keep forever. It's cute, especially that one. I like that one. And at some point I want to take this and get the band to sign it for me. Because, you know, this all started because of them. Not that page. There we go. So this is the original traditional artwork for the page I'm working on, and you can see the frame that I'm working on. Oh, I can never do this. The camera's always the opposite to what I think. So that's the frame I'm currently working on. Where's the camera gone there? So you'll be able to see the sort of, where have you gone? Smoke coming up here. Again, I don't know how big it is on your screen. So I originally draw that as two separate panes. Oh well. Whoops. No post-production snafu. Oh, there's, okay, that's good. I need to capture some of these motion lines as well. Although, now that I've moved it onto digital, there are some funkier ways of showing the same thing, I think. But yeah, so, and actually the traditional artwork, did I delete the traditional art layers? I think I did after I did the line work. But the traditional, I sort of took a photo of that traditional artwork and plopped it on here so that I could kind of trace it. So the line work for this particular page was very easy because I've kind of already done it with my traditional pens. It's a good sketchbook, and I think I'm going to continue to use it to kind of sketch out. Ooh, there's some funny little history ideas that I do really like that, but that's a good sketchbook. That one's going in the Sarah Sketchbook Hall of Fame, and they don't often end up in the Sarah Sketchbook Hall of Fame. Most of my sketchbooks, like, there might be one or two good ones, and then it's just filled with a lot of tosh. It's why, like, if you ever meet an artist and they've got a sketchbook, the absolute worst thing you can do is rip the sketchbook out their hands and start flicking through it. Because most artists, except for like super experienced, I'm sure there are those out there where every page is a literal work of art, but if you're anything like me, I would say every 4 pages you get a work of art, and the ones in between is just utter tripe. You might have experimented with a composition that you don't like, you might have, I'm trying to think what other rubbish floats around in my things, character designs that you don't like, you know, you drew a wonky eye, I hate a wonky eye, very easy to do when you're drawing figures. One eye beautiful, other eye, that's why I like drawing pirates where you get to put an eye patch on the other one. Again, I just can't do it, I can't leave that looking like that, with no fingers drawn in. Fingies, as my daughter would call them. Things are going my little toe, but yeah, the worst thing you can do is just rip the sketchbook from their hands and start flicking through, because yeah, most artists, no bueno. It's not going to make us happy. You might be like, oh, I like this one, or no, but the fact that you've sort of seen all of our planning sketches and stuff, we like to have the allure of everything that we do is beautiful. You know, most artists won't publish everything and anything on Instagram for a good reason. Is that going to be the right colour? Covering in a crotch, trying not to giggle. Fail. This is why I could never draw like hentai or anything, because I'd just be like I can see our bottom. Would not be able to take it seriously. Do keep forgetting to go back and colour in people's shoes. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I haven't done that shoes there. There's no shoes in that pane. Barefoot. Yeah, that is something I'm a bugger for remembering, or not remembering. See if I can find a pin that's got all the shoe colour. If not, I get to make it up. I might have. I'm sure a neat and tidy artist will have like a little palette thing somewhere, but not I. Ooh. Oh. Now I feel stupid. A, I didn't colour grab it, and B, I was on the eraser tool. No, I have a horrible feeling that... Oh, look, I haven't done Luke's shoes there either. Oh my god, what's wrong with me? I think I'm going to have to make them slightly lighter here, otherwise you're just not going to see them. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a green hue, and I'll go back and I'll adjust it on the other one. But he's going to have green shoes. Because why not? Green and grey. So I always like, I like working on this panel because a lot of the positions that people are in, I got my hubby to pose for, so I could kind of try and make it fairly accurate. So I always think of my hubby when I'm doing some of these panels. Okay, let's tidy up a bit. Ooh, no. Wrong tool. Tidy up this wall. And just because of earlier panels, I will need to add some texture and lighting to that wall, but not right this second. Much tidier. Okay. Now, just based on earlier frames, there is a, if you look back, not on this page, not on that page, not on that page, might be on this page, there are some little bins and stuff I need to draw in that corner. But I think I'll come back to that. I think let's just get the walls and whatnot positioned. Because Clip Studio's been made to do manga, remember that the panels are not necessarily in the order you're expecting, which always makes me chuckle. Okay. Hopefully now you see all this sort of colour going on. Better idea of what's going on each panel, because you can start to see the line work. I'm guessing on screen it can look a bit bizarre. did not finish drawing that hand. Okay, I'll do some of it with the colour. Not neatly done. And again, it looked fine from far away, but then you zoom in and you're like, what? Look at all that I missed. What? Oh. Okay. Ugh. Just off and away, right? That's on his hand. Okay, this one's not so bad. I'll just tidy up when I do its t-shirt colours. Try and keep it neat and tidy where it can't fix it with a t-shirt. Folds around his head. Let's tidy some of this up. Flourishing folds. A bit there, a bit there. Neat and tidy. Okay, grab that. Let's check I'm still on the right layer. Yes, I am. Also need to remember that in Tobias's t-shirt it does have like a little, I would say if you play Minecraft it looks a little bit like the, does it dispenser blocks that got the little like ooh face, the little ooh face on the block. That is what the t-shirt design kind of looks like. I have no idea whether Tobias plays Minecraft or not, but I'm gonna go with probably not. In real life, I mean. Character Tobias. That is the trouble when you use real people in your comics. You're like, dance, my puppets, dance. I have decided that your favourite food is really stinky cheese and soz. That's absolutely pivotal to my story arc, so you just have to go along with it now. That's the power you hold when you're using real people in your comics. Although I'm going to try very hard not to abuse that power too much. I can't guarantee that I won't slip the odd bit of insanity in there. But you know, the purpose of this comic is, A, I've got a story I want to tell. That's my primary thing. Like, you know, even if my comic doesn't make it big, or like, you know, if a few people read it and are like, this is a really good story, that is good enough for me. But I do like the idea that fans of Esoterica will read these comic books and then go to a gig and kind of imagine that what I've written is true. That's kind of, I like that sort of breaking the fourth wall kind of element to it, and that is the reason that I decided for my first proper graphic novel that I was writing, because this is, although I'm going to issue it, I'm going to publish it in like short issues just so that, you know, something goes out there before I'm 40. The idea is that once I've written the first story arc, that I'll publish it as like a big old chunky book, and that's going to be a good day when that happens. Yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that, because I got so happy about the thought of publishing this as a full book. But that is, you know, people ask why are you doing this? It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort and stuff, and you know, you might not necessarily make any money. And I think if my aim was to make money, I wouldn't have written a story like this. I'd have done one with big chesty ladies all stroking each other on a beach, and then a mermaid comes along, and you know, if I wanted to make money, that's the way I'd go. But no, I have, like, you know, I like telling stories. If you ever hang out with me in real life, that's my favourite thing to do. It's like, you know, it's quite hard to shut me up. I would be the person by the campfire where you're like, not that story again. Back in the olden days. So this is kind of my way of, you know, I'm not gonna bark at you. Ooh, is that my doorbell? There's someone at my front door. Let's have a look. Ooh, parcel. Be right back. I thought I had a parcel and I didn't. Sad. Never mind. Can't remember what I was talking about. But yeah, when I saw my Ring doorbell, it was a person and I thought they had a parcel. I got very excited. I think I was talking about why I'm putting myself through this insanity. And why I used real people and the responsibility you then hold when you're drawing a comic that involves people that do exist IRL. Like, you know, not that I ever would, but like, you know, if you make them a villain, I suppose I could. If you make someone who exists in real life a villain in your comics, there is, you know, certainly I feel a level of responsibility that I don't want them getting abuse. Because people are like, I know that you're evil, I read it in a comic. Not that I think anyone would, but you know, you never know. Or, you did this in the comic and now I cannot love your music. Like, I'd hate for something like that to happen, so word to the wise, I don't think I'll be turning any of the band members into a supervillain. Certainly not a supervillain that, like, you know, crosses any, like, you know, lines that I consider sort of like unspeakables. Or will I? Now that's thrown you, hasn't it? No, that's not his t-shirt. So sometimes it makes sense to step back and kind of actually look at the line work that you're covering in. Make sure I'm not doing anything too madnessy. Ooh, and save. Always remember to save. Just doing a wee backup of all these comment pages today as well. Another bit of admin that I keep putting off. Right, I think I'm gonna finish. What have I got left to do down here? Yeah, I think as it's nearly my lunchtime, I'm going to finish this one. Shall I see if I can try and get these two kind of blocked in as well? Yeah, I'm going to get all the flatting done on this page, and I'm going to call it a morning. Yerp, yerp, yerp. And then I'm going to go play some Final Fantasy 14, because that is what I fancy doing on this very rainy day. Bottoms. Hair. I need to come back and go over that bit with some line work. Flat stroke across the iron is hot. Itchy eye. Actually, that's something I haven't done on some of these earlier ones is eye colours. At least eye shading. I'm getting better at drawing open mouths. It used to be a bit of a, what do you call it? You get the fear every time you try and do it. And Tobias has got brown eyes, thanks to a little mole who went round and checked all the band members' eye colours for me. If you're watching Agent Mouse, you know who you are. Which is there. Okay. Quiet because I'm using all of my brain power. That happens sometimes on these streams. Sort of head down, doodly doodly. Especially when I'm like, oh, what was I doing with that hand? Because that is not a hand. That is just a flesh lump at the end of the arm. And not really wanting to just have that as a flesh lump. Flesh lump avoided. Curry that's not so good. I think I've got the rest. For anyone interested, I put Tobias in the clothes or similar clothes to what he wore in the music video Gone. So if you want to check what this band that I have based this whole comic on is like, and I very much like their music, I highly recommend going, particularly if you want a slightly more, not aggressive, but like upbeat track. Gone is a good one, particularly if you've had a bad day at work. very good track for that, and a fun music video to watch when you're in that mindset. Again, I've decided to be untidy with the colouring in on that bit. That's where this sort of grey, and I don't think, I mean, I've made this kind of a, you wear a t-shirt underneath and your t-shirt kind of pokes out, but I can't actually remember if that's what that piece of clothing actually is like. But it is in this comic, because again, dance my puppets, dance! Near enough. I do like how just adding the colour, like even the flats, just starts to bring the page to life. That does make me happy. Again, save. Don't want to repeat doing this again. Twice is enough. Hair. That's anything I've not done yet. Teethies, mouthies, eyeballies, and eye colories. Oh, I see, it's actually the line work. Oh dear. That's not very neat and tidy at all. Ooh, no, don't do that. Okay. Right. Well, I might cheat. Cheaty. And do that. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. Don't have to worry about going over the line work I've already done for Tobias. And in fact, I'm going to be really slapdash with this t-shirt because there's a little... Ooh, no. I don't need to take it down that road. Never Never mind. Anyone that plays the piano, you will know injuring your hand is not a good thing. This brush sounds a bit small. Just go and make sure this is a bit neater than slapdash, and that's just dang messy. Trying to avoid dang messy. I think if ever you get your hands on this sticky little comic, you will notice that as I kind of got more confident with what I was doing, that the style will just, I've kind of accepted that, like, it's a bit like, I've got some comic collections, so that's sort of up, this is my kind of arty shelf, but just outside of camera cut off, I've got like my shelf of comics. In fact, I've got more down here and more upstairs, but that's generally my shelf of comics. And actually having read through, or kind of got a lot of them from like issue, I like to buy the big thick books where it's kind of issue 1 to whatever point in the story, where it's kind of somebody that's sort of either writing their first sort of set of comics or something. You see that art evolution through the book, which has made me feel a bit better that, you know, this is my starty style, and as I write and draw more issues, I will hone my skills. And as long as my first issue is kind of a quality that people can read it and kind of start to get sucked a little bit into the story, and the storytelling is good, the artwork can evolve. I've sort of made my peace with that now, which has made me a lot more relaxed about doing this comic, because at one point I was like, oh my god, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be good enough, no one's ever going to read it, what am I doing? And that sort of thought process has, I'm happy to say, died a bit of a death. Try not to get in my own way. And that's beautiful curly locks. I have been very lucky that by producing this comic I have got to meet all of the band members, which was a privilege and helped me sort of add character dimensions to each of these, because, you know, I've seen their mannerisms IRL, which, you know, as well as it just being like really cool to meet them, that was also very, very helpful for what I'm doing here. In hindsight, I should have done the skin there first. Never mind. Live and learn, all that jazz, hey? quite sure what's going on with the banana finger here, but I might fix that when I go back and do some detailing. Banana hands! I'm sure banana hands would be very helpful for playing guitar, but they may freak out the local populace, so I will fix banana hands at some point. So again, if you're just tuning in, bear in mind that I'm super zoomed in on this particular frame, and that when you look at this in the grand scale of how big the comic is, it looks a lot less bonkers. And you see how tiny the frame actually is. But zooming in is my friend. I'm sure it's saving my eyeballs a lot of heartache than if I was doing this traditionally. With my sketchbook about 3 inches away from my face. Too big, too big. A little bit more the big bits of colour. Oh, I can tidy that up in a minute. I find sometimes when you're kind of trying to do a smooth line, it's easier with a bigger brush. I don't know why. I'm sure it's psychological. Okay. There we go. So that is an ism in our house. There we go. A lot of isms in our house that make no sense to anyone that doesn't live with us. Neckline, I made the most mess. Let's sort that out. Messy, messy, messy. Actually, not 100% happy. So close. Okay. Ooh, one left to go. I'm gonna go get me some food. very epic music for my final panel of today. Okay, we're one step closer to another page done. Squee! And I think this is one where I zoomed out this far, it looks like I've done a really good job, but I reckon when I zoom in I'll be like, no, it's miles away from the lines, what was I thinking? Did I do this drunk? Oh, yeah, look at that. Crazy lady. Crazy drunk lady. I've also done it before where I've been this zoomed in and I'm like, woo, done, and then I've zoomed out. I've missed half of it. What a numpty. Oops. I missed those t-shirts. Yeah. Go. I'm liking this song, so I've gone quiet because I'm just enjoying the song. the flatting. Oh no, do you know what I haven't done? Is Will's eyes in the last frame. Just not that one. Is it that one? Yes. Okay. Whoop, whoop. Now I can just zoom in enough and just check that I'm sort of happy. Yep. So yeah, I've got detailing to do, I've got shading to do, and obviously eventually lettering to do, but I finished that page. So thank you very much for joining me for my little surprise stream this morning. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not, but I thought, why not? Whilst I'm working, have a little chat with you all. So have a lovely rest of the day, rest of the morning, and I will catch you all on my Thursday stream as normal. Bye bye for now.